When's the last time you've had a traumatic event happen in your life? Maybe it was an accident. Somebody became sick. You lost a loved one. You lost your job, went bankrupt. The last significant traumatic event in my life happened August 23rd, 2011. It was a Saturday morning, Easter weekend. And I got up in the morning, looked outside, and the sun was shining. We thought, this is the day we're going to ride our motorcycle for the first time of the season. So went down, got the license, put it on the bike, got our leathers on, got on the bike, was heading down the highway. The wind was in my face. It was a wonderful ride, myself and my wife. But then, from a side road, a man driving a Cavalier ran a stop sign, pulled out right in front of us, and I had no place to go. So I slammed on the brakes and then laid the bike down, and before I knew it, I was jammed underneath the engine. My wife was over on the side, and the bike was somewhere over here. It was a mess. I'm here to tell you that that traumatic event for me was not the end of the story. I learned some valuable lessons that helped me to bounce forward after I had that event on April 23rd. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Research says that everybody in this room will have 6 to 8 traumatic events in your lifetime. You've either had one, you're having one right now, or guess what? More are coming. So this speech is for you. I want to talk about 3 life-changing principles that will help you to bounce forward after you've had a trauma. And I've learned this from my own experience and watching others. 3 things I'm going to talk about is you need a purpose, you need realistic optimism, and you need healthy connections to bounce forward. First of all, you need a purpose to bounce forward. Somebody once said, when you lose your why, you lose your way. Say that with me. When you lose your why, you lose your way. When I woke up in ICU 2 days after the accident, my kids were standing there. My why was hanging by a thread. It took me a while to figure out what in the world happened. But once I figured it out, I was convinced I was going to bounce back. I was going to be back running and working and doing the things I love to do. Just in a few weeks, a few months, we were going to lick this thing, and it was all going to be behind us. Well, I had 3 surgeries, went back home, started my physio, and then 4 months later, I'm with my physiotherapist, and he's looking at my leg. He's thinking, this doesn't look right. There's fluid building up in your leg. Go back to your doctor. I'm stopping the physio. So I go back to Royal Columbian Hospital, check myself back in. They test my blood, and they find your blood, you are full of the infection that you got off the highway. It has not been resolved. I said, oh, great. Had my 4th surgery. I went back, and I was sitting on my recliner. My why was gone. What was I going to do now? My purpose was shattered. And I said a prayer. What am I supposed to do now? And then it wasn't too long before I realized, you know what? You don't have to actually be mobile to make a difference with your life. So I started using my fingers and using my mouth and using my encouragement to make a difference in people's lives. After all, I was going to spend 5,000 more hours on that recliner. So it's a good thing I got that why. Bounce forward with a why. Secondly, you bounce forward with realistic optimism. William A. Ward said, a pessimist complains about the wind. An optimist expects it to change. And a realist adjusts the sails. Now, I'm an optimist by nature. I just think things are going to get better. But when I found out that when your adversity goes on and week after month, optimism turns to despair. It doesn't last. You need another ingredient to go with it, and that is realism. You have to figure out how you're going to do your day one moment at a time when you're suffering and having 10 surgeries like I had. And I learned to put realism with optimism, and I was able to bounce forward. Well, you need purpose to bounce forward. Secondly, you need realistic optimism. But third, you need healthy connections. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. When I woke up and I was going through all this mess, I was surrounded by family and friends that loved me. And they traveled with me. But you know what? I had to let them into my life. Because when you're going through trauma, sometimes you just want to just leave me alone. But I decided, you know what? I don't want to be left alone. That's not good. I'm not going to bounce forward that way. So I opened up myself and let them take me places, buy me barbecue chips, come and visit me, text me. I let them in my life. And it was tremendous. But I also realized I needed to reach out to others. And I would get on my little red scooter, which had 4 wheels and 2 batteries. Because after all, I didn't drive for 717 days. But who's driving? Or who's counting? Because I certainly wasn't driving. I go out on my scooter, and I met a man who had a much nicer scooter than I did. And we would talk, we would visit. And he had Parkinson's disease, and it was a terrible struggle that he had. And he would tell me his story, and I would tell him about my last surgery and how bad that was, and we just encouraged each other. And I turned around and went back home, and I was energized because I had a healthy connection that was helping me to bounce forward. So I don't know when your trauma is going to come or if you've had one and you're going to have one in the future. But these principles, if you can learn to apply them to your life right now, when your trauma comes, when your adversity hits, if you have a purpose, and if you have realistic optimism, and if you have healthy connections, you, like me, will learn to bounce forward, and your life will be much better than it would have been had you not had that. Adam Clark.